Hey everyone. Hey everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the very first episode of the Power of Love and Connection podcast. This has been a work in the making, and I am so extremely excited to share with you each Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, talking all about love and connection, relationships, and all the things that matter to us. Um, on so many different layers, on so many different levels, with so many different people, so many different perspectives. I am extremely excited about this. So tonight's episode is our intro episode. So we're going to talk a little bit about, the whys and the hows and what it's going to look like. My name is Allison. I am your podcast host, and going to be including several of my friends in the first few weeks of episodes. I really love collaboration and network and purpose building, and so I am super excited to share this space with some people that have come into my life at various points throughout the process, and really be able to unpack, deconstruct, however you want to call it, the power of love and connection. I have some things I want to say. I got some things I want to talk about. And I think that this podcast is cheaper than therapy. So I'm going to max out every moment of it. And just looking forward to sharing with you and hearing from you too. We're going to have opportunities for you to share your feedback, give us topic suggestions, and really engage with us throughout the podcast. So, before we get into all of the good stuff, I want to take a moment to introduce my guests tonight. Um, they will be appearing and reappearing throughout the duration of this podcast, as well as sharing some incredible content of their own. So tonight, joining me is Connie and Sandra. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. We'll start with Connie.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. This is really exciting for me for a lot of reasons. My name is Connie, and I am the unapologetic stiletto. And what that's about is teaching and empowering women to be stilettos, even if they only wear flats, right? So it's just a matter of building confidence from every aspect of your life, not just confidence physically, but also emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and financially. So I'm excited to be here to talk about love with these ladies tonight.
Man, I can't wait to talk about what it means to be a stiletto. We're gonna have to get into that super soon, sooner rather than later. All
Yeah.
right, Sandra.
Hey, good evening, good evening. I'm actually honored and excited to be here. My name is Sandra, and I love love. May not always work out the way I wanted to, but I love love. I love being in love, and I'm excited to talk about love, good, bad, indifference, you know, on my perspective.
Yeah,
So happy
yeah,
to be.
that's good. I'm so fired up to get this conversation going.
Mhm.
So I want to talk a little bit about the why for starting this podcast, but I also, before we get into that, want to talk a little bit about like why these two people in particular. So one of the things that was really important to me for this podcast is that people who I could talk to and have conversations with were a part of it. And that means something. I mean, when you think about talking about everything, which to me that's what this is going to be like we're going to be talking about everything related to love, connection, and that's so broad based. It was really important to have people you could have a conversation with. That's one thing. The other thing is that this is going to be so interesting. My whole life, people know me certain kinds of ways. Like there are people I've known since I was a kid who would swear she never says a word. And then there are other people who think I talk too much. And so to me, this podcast is an opportunity to kind of blend all of that. Talking with you guys, like people who I can talk to without judgment, and also get like just some really good perspective and life knowledge and nuggets and stiletto stuff. Like I'm looking forward to all of that, all of that, all of that. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful that this very first episode includes the two of you, because I
Thank you.
think that, I just think that what you bring to the world individually is just really incredible. Connie's personality and character and some, like two very unique people, but impacting the world in their own incredible and amazing ways. So I can't think of a better couple of people to kick off with, and we're gonna jump into things. Y'all ready? Y'all ready to
Let's
talk?
do it. Let's do it. Yes.
So I am, so my wife for starting this podcast. I joked a little bit earlier about it being therapy for me, but I was serious. Like this really is an opportunity for me to not just talk, but to listen and hear, to level up, increase my perspective on any things associated with relationships. Like this really is that meaningful to me. There's some things that I want different perspectives on. Sometimes they say in a marriage there are three sides: what he said, what she said, and what the truth is. And so I want to hear all of, you know what I mean? I want to hear all of that. I want to hear all of that. I have a few simple whys, and then we're gonna jump off into things. I feel like I'm doing too much talking, but my main why for doing a podcast really is the way I was raised. Oh, I didn't. I had a big family, but my family wasn't really talkative towards me. So I love talking, and I love being in environments and rooms where I could just talk. I just talk about anything, talk, and it's fine. I didn't experience that like growing up. Another um reason, especially for picking this topic, is that I have always been a fan of love. Like I am Hallmark for life. Um, but I don't really think that I've ever understood the definition of love. And so that's two things. Third thing is that I know the power of connection and how the right kind of connections can really um just enhance who you are as an individual, or as a part of a group, or in your career. Like I really believe in the power of connection. And so I wanted to talk about it. That's it. That's it. That's it. All right. So what y'all think? What do you think? What do you think, girls?
I think that I identify with you saying how you were raised.
Uh-huh.
You said you had a large family. For me, it was the opposite. My family was very small, but we always talked. We always talked about everything,
Wow.
relationship, marriage, love, because my grandmother raised me. So she was always giving us knowledge on how, a woman is supposed to be towards her man, or how a man is supposed to be towards a woman, etc. But for me,
Your grandmother talked to you about that?
yes,
Wow.
my grandmother, I believe, was very advanced for her time. She was very today, back then. But I also believe that love can mean different things to different people. You know,
Mhm.
love can, what I may can be looking for in a love connection, someone may not identify with that. And
Mhm.
I wrote a few things down that I don't want to forget. For me, love is touch, smell, intimacy, great communication, laughter. Of course, I don't know if I want to say this.
You gotta say it now.
Right.
Good connection in the lovemaking department. Mm.
Oh, okay. That
No,
that
you
was
know
that
when
was
I
PG. That was PG.
That's
That was
PG.
PG.
yeah, I have to be PG because and what's really crazy about it, maybe back in the days I would have shouted it out, but as you start walking with God, which I have,
Yeah.
it seems so hard to say even the innocent thing like love
To
me.
say sex, like
I know. Out publicly anyway, not in private. So
wait. So I wanna go back to one thing you said. Love is touch. That is so. It's so funny you said that because I gave you guys my why, but I left out a couple of them.
really
And when I was looking at the list, I was like, I'm not gonna say that. But I didn't get a lot of hugs growing up, and so I
same here.
always associated not being loved with because I didn't get a lot of hugs. And now as much as I want to hug, I'm not accustomed to hugging. Like
Mhm.
it's just I love hugs. I love
So do
hugs.
I.
But
Especially a
I
good
don't
one, not one of those church
yeah,
hugs, a good one. Well, a good one, yes.
a good and so man, sometimes people hug me, but just a random hug. And I start crying because I'm like, oh, I love these hugs. But I too associate love with touch, but didn't get a lot of hugs and touches, which translated to me not feeling love. Family, if you're watching, I didn't say you didn't love me. I said I did not feel love.
Yeah.
Like
And
keep it,
Difference.
I'm
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
go off and say maybe that's why my first impression of love is touch, because as a child I didn't get that emotional love or affection, you know?
Mm,
So that touch and that feel and that hug and that embrace and that touch, rub my legs or rub my arms or hold my hand.
mm,
Hold my hand. I love holding hands with someone that I'm in love with or someone that I feel loves me. It's not a show thing, it's just that connection.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. See, for me, I was an only child. I am an only child, and I was
Yeah.
raised by
Mhm.
my grandmother as well.
Wow.
And it was a single home with my grandmother, so it was just the two of us. So I was spoiled on top of spoiled, on on top of spoiled. But the way she showed love to me was through not only touch, because she was a hugger, and that's why I love hugs, but they weren't as often as I would like them to have been. And I was a fat girl. I was a fat kid. And so when it came time for dating and that type of thing, and I was excited about it, I wasn't one of those who was picked readily, right? So the love for me was about making the connection of touching me, give me a hug, kissing. But I was raised as a church girl too, so that was absolutely
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
you couldn't do that if you secretly like somebody in church or outside of church. It better not be told. You just go and write in your diary and dear, But it was that type of, and so for me, the connection came because being a girl that wasn't
Uh-huh.
readily desired. Once
Mhm.
I became older, I was to be fully transparent. I started looking for love in all the wrong places, and
Amen.
Wait,
so to this
so
day.
so
Mhm.
let's wait a minute. So you said you grew up with a lot of love, you got hugs,
Yeah.
So your point of, I guess, rejection, acceptance, that was when you got a little
Became
older.
more,
When,
yeah, I got older. But as a child, my grandmother, my mother, I was, yeah, I was very much
interesting. That's
loyal.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when your friends, you know, your childhood friends, when you start hanging out and becoming of age, you know, you organically it's a girls and boys getting together, especially in the neighborhoods, right?
Yeah.
So I was always the girl who wasn't selected. And so of course, you know, you want to feel like you're important and good enough and all of those other things. But then when it doesn't happen, it feels very scarce to
Yeah.
Yeah.
the point that you start becoming very anxious and eager to get it and almost try to get it by any means necessary, which goes
Yeah.
back to that looking for love in all the wrong places. So, you know, growing up, once my grandmother passed away, and that was in my teenage years, that's when everything, everything that
Wow.
I remembered everything because I was still a church girl, knew the scriptures and all of that. But at the end of the day, I'm a teenage girl who wants to be loved and feel affection from a boy, you know?
Right.
So that was different. And so growing up, that was the two differentials. Yes, I was loved on. However, your family is hopefully is going to love you regardless. However, when it's time to go out and be social and things like that, you want to be accepted in those groups and circles as well. So it's learning to be, and that's where that confidence comes back because
Right.
if you don't really, and you're fortunate, Sandra, that your grandmother instilled that in you where you took those lessons with you. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So it transcended into multiple relationships for you. So, but in instances for me, it was like, I want to be loved too. I'm a
Right.
Peter,
So
you know.
so look,
I'll
you
say,
know, man, that oh sorry, go ahead, Sandra.
I apologize. I'll say this. It's ironic how Connie, you were also raised by a grandmother.
Hmm.
And I never knew my mother because she passed when I was 3.
Oh.
You
Oh,
muted.
Sandra, you muted yourself. Sandra, Sandra, Sandra.
You're muted.
Okay,
You can
we're
unmute
gonna
her, right?
pause. Okay, you guys, we had a few technical difficulties, but we're gonna pick right up with Sandra. We were talking about the difference between her and Connie being raised, but both by grandmothers. Go ahead, Sandra.
Right. So my opinion has always been that I will never truly know what it's like to have true love or feel true love and affection from anyone, maybe, because I never got that from my mother. Someone that I think would love me differently the way I love my kids. My grandmother, even though we conversated and she gave me good advice, she didn't love me or hug me, you know what I mean? The way I
Mhm.
felt my mother probably would have. You know,
Hmm.
and I feel that inside of me, I'm always missing that. You know, I'm always missing that.
Yeah.
Always thinking, I wonder what it's like to really have a mother hug you. I wonder what it's like to have a mother, kiss you.
Yeah.
Wonder, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? So, but not having that kind of that initial love, that birth love, that new love, that real, that unconditional love, I think it also goes into your relationship when you
Mhm.
start looking for love because maybe you're looking for something that I'm talking for myself, I didn't have. And maybe I might never find it. So will
Right.
Yeah.
I
That's
what am
good.
I look, you know what I mean? Am I gonna always keep looking or am I just gonna accept that it is what it is? You know? And
And
then
then
I
you have
Yeah.
to make, and it's good that you were able to make that connection and identify that because a lot of people don't have that
yeah,
awakened moment where they can say, oh, this is why it is, or oh, this is why it's not, and they go continuing to search and look and love for in all the wrong places, if you will, but not really knowing what the source and the root of that is
Right.
derived from.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And then the second thing I said was smell. And I don't know why that is such an important thing to me, but I like to smell my man.
To
You know,
smell what?
my man.
Oh,
She wants
oh,
to smell that savage,
you
honey.
want to smell your man.
It comes off weird. It comes off weird, you know, and you don't even know. But I like to sniff them, you know, just to have that scent, you know, in all
What if
places.
he stinks?
Then I'll
Then he
say
wouldn't be your man, right?
then I'll say something. You know, but it's
Right.
just scent. And then again, I thought maybe that's something that came from childhood too, you know.
Interesting.
Babies, they color and they smell and you tug them and I didn't get that, you know. I
Oh,
didn't get
wow.
loving
That
it.
is so deep. That
Yeah.
is so deep. Yeah. Wow. It is, I'm just now really getting into, brain studies and, relationship, mother, parent, child, mother, daughter kind of
Yeah.
studies. They're fascinating to me because they reveal how, something, it's so much. Something as simple as, your mother being angry the entire time that she was pregnant with you, translating to how you act as a child and on into adulthood. And what's fascinating to me is that you could have no understanding or no insight into that, into the fact that that's the case, but those things they're significant in how you relate to people, your definition of love, how well you connect with people. I know this for a fact. I don't know the scientific, I know the spiritual, ramifications of it, but I know for a fact that, like, I have no memory. Now, not having a memory, I'm not saying it didn't happen,
Right.
but I don't have memories of being coddled grew up in a big family, but I don't have six brothers and sisters. I don't have memories of them touching, connecting. I'm not saying they didn't. I just
Right.
don't have any memories of it.
Mhm.
And so as an adult, like, connections, I've always struggled with connecting because this is my this is how I translate it. It's like you grow up in this family where they're supposed to, I'm stretching, like you, and they don't. So why would people who don't
Outside.
have to have anything to do with you want to be bothered with you? And I know that dynamic, what in reality, or just how I experience, whichever the case, is responsible for how I connect to people, how I perceive love. And like Connie said, looking for love in all the wrong places. Notorious for looking like I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find it somewhere. And how that manifested, that's another story for another day.
Right.
The Caribbean people in Florida always say, sometimes when some of the Caribbean guys, they'll start talking and then they'll go, oh, but that's another story for another day. I understand that. I get it.
And so for me, like, what you speaking to that, not having a memory of that, I get that. However, mine is slightly different because what I did in becoming a woman, and I just believe that these women were put in my life. Once my grandmother passed away, I started navigating and migrating to people who were like her, just to get the extension of that love and affection that I received from her. Now, mind you, I'm 5'11". My grandmother was 4'11". And so the majority of the people that I migrate to, because she was a small but mighty, and so those type of people I can connect with better because I understand it's not uncomfortable for me to, I'm going to say, aggressively be communicated with, because
Right.
it was just her way, not being mean, but she was
Stern.
and the women that have helped mold me have been those type of women. And I deal, but you can't be sweet and, well, no, you shouldn't do that. It's going out the window. Not hearing any of it, right? I need somebody to say, look, you can do this if you want, but it's more of a, because it feels more like what my grandmother would do. And that helped. And I'm that type of woman, all right, you can do it if you want to. And it's just those type of connections that were made due to the motherly, with the nurturing, the maternal nurturing from my grandmother. So I get that completely.
Let me take a pause really quick just to ask you guys who are listening or watching to subscribe to the Power of Love and Connection on YouTube. It's at Power of Love and Connection. And then also on Apple Podcasts, you can search Power of Love and Connection to subscribe. Right now, subscriptions are free, but we're gonna blow up. So you better get in while you can. You better get those subscriptions going, and support. There are very few mediums that allow women to talk like this. Like that this is real life stuff that we either experience alone or fight with our families about, but we're talking about it. Like, we are talking about it. And I do believe that through talking about it, through sharing with one another, that healing and restoration takes place. Is it gonna fix everything? No, that's not the goal. But the goal is to, have a forum or an outlet to be able to talk about these things and make them make sense for whatever point you are in life. Okay, so Sandra, I think you were saying something. We can go back to that.
I wanted to piggyback off of Connie again, because somehow we seem to have this almost same life story. My grandmother, like I tell you how she was very strong, was a very strong woman. There were no men in the house except my uncles. And my grandmother never allowed men, if she had a male friend that would come over, or any man in the house, they weren't allowed to raise their voice on the women and, get out of order. And then I have an aunt that was extremely strong, you know. And she became more of my mentor. Now, what I will say is this. Some of the lessons that she taught me as I am now 60 years old, I believed were incorrect when it came to how to deal with men, and I think,
like what? Can you share an example?
An example, how can I say it?
Just say it. You trying to find the right words. Just say it.
Trade, it was basically being in control, being totally in control, with her, I don't think there was no halfway. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Don't talk to me like this. Don't do this. Don't do that. So it was, instead of the relationship that I would be into being all easy to resolve, it would probably be escalated because
like confrontational, full of conflict.
Confrontational, right? Because you can't talk to me like this, or I don't even know how to correctly word it, but it was now that it was the incorrect way. I feel that that way what I was taught was incorrect and it cost me. I
Okay.
believe
What did it cost you? I'm
I
trying to
believe
get the details. You
I
giving
believe
us highlights.
I believe it cost me my first marriage
Okay.
because I was too controlling. I was too argumentative. And I don't mean argument, I mean fighting kind of argumentative, you know what I mean? Um, it's the control. It was
Got
too
it. Got it. Got it. Got it.
controlling can label so many things, you know?
Right.
When you get like that, I think it makes the person can lose that love for you. They
Right.
can love, can lose that love for you. And I still work on that. But then there's a thin line, right? For me, there's a thin line between someone thinking you're controlling or you just want something a certain way because of how it makes you feel.
Right.
You
Right.
know, because you know what's good for you. Everyone knows what's good for them loved ones, you
Right.
know, but it's not what you say is how you say it. It was the delivery,
Mhm.
you know, man
And
Yeah.
so, yeah,
Wow.
and the
before he
connections for like, I totally understand what you mean because for a long time I had mixed a mixed understanding of what a male female relationship should look like
and
because it was just me and my grandmother in the house.
yeah,
Although my mother had four sisters and one brother, so
well,
they had spouses and significant others and things like that. And then, but it was from a distance, so I didn't know and when the women came around, the men went away, right? So I didn't really get to see what the romantic side, what
Got
that
it.
looked like, the affectionate, because they weren't publicly, PDA is a no-no,
yes,
or was back in those days. So that was a no-no. You do whatever you do behind closed doors. And that's where a lot of curiosity comes into play too.
Yeah.
Because it's the unknown. What are they doing behind those doors?
Right.
What's happening? And so if someone is not communicating with you what love should look like, then
Right.
you get curious and figure it out on and experiment, if you will, on your own. And then when the men are around, and the men that I saw were what I'll call manly men, meaning the women cooked and cleaned, unfortunately, but the men took care of the hard work, the labor intensive work. So that's what it looked like for me, in addition to what I saw on TV,
mhm,
the Claire Huxtables and the George and Wheezy. It was
Yeah.
those type of relationships that were building a fairy tale of what a relationship should look like too. And when you don't see the combativeness or what the disagreement was, and then you learn later that it was they did whatever they did behind closed doors, you don't know what that looks like, and you're figuring it out on your own.
mhm.
So let me ask you guys something. Okay, good shifting point. So so you both shared that your perspectives
Mhm.
on relationships um might have been a bit skewed based on that. So what does love look like to you today? Like and be really, transparent, and what does it look like for you?
I'll
How do you define it differently in comparison to like that definition that was formed when you were growing up?
I'll say what I always say what do I want love to look like and what it looks like to me. Love today for me is great communication, great conversation, respect, um, a man being there's I don't like the word real man or real woman because there's no such thing. It's just a a woman. I like a man to hold a man's position. And
Mm,
I like I'm feminine, so I like to hold a female position. I don't mind cooking, cleaning, pleasing, being I want not subservient, right, mind you. But being what a woman, in my opinion, is supposed to be, keep the house clean. You know, if a man is working, or if he works and y'all are living together, or y'all are married, when he pack him some lunch so he can take some lunch, or if you together, I don't mean drive it across town if y'all are living separately. Make sure there's a nice hot meal at home, or something for the man to eat when he comes home. If you
I was
get home,
about to say something.
if you get home first, or order something so you can both eat, and it could be vice versa, right? If he gets home first, sharing, caring, intimacy, respect, being able to, for me, I want to know, I like it. I like to feel that the person that I'm with is enjoying me, is seeing me, is appreciating everything that I do,
That's
tell me,
good.
say, I want to hear I love you. I want to hear you look pretty today, when I'm
That's
dressed.
good.
Sometimes a woman, you get dressed and you look good, and you might be with a guy or a man or a husband, and he can't even say, baby, you look really pretty today. You have to
Yeah.
go out the door and get to work, and then someone else says it.
Right.
I want
Yeah.
something.
Right.
Yeah.
One that pays attention to the little details
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
deep to me.
You know what? Even as grown and mature as I am, I still like to hear those things.
Yeah.
And it is so interesting because it changes my countenance when a
Yes.
man says
Mhm.
beautiful. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Or let me pump your gas.
I know, especially when it's your man.
yeah, I was on the phone. This is so funny. I was on the phone we were talking business. Like we were talking business. And I stopped at the gas station, still on the phone. The car pumping, getting ready. And I hear a guy go, "Hey, Miss Lady." I was like, and I said, he was like, "Can I pump your gas?" Like my voice went like 10 octaves different.
Singing in
And
that moment.
I embrace that moment. So one of my goals for this year is to seize and embrace every
Absolutely.
moment. And I have been
Absolutely.
on it. So I was all up in all, and he was like, "You are so beautiful." And like, I was eating it up.
Like to the point, she was like, "Connie, let me call you back." I was like, "Okay, girl."
Yeah, it really, and the call, this is how important it is what you just said.
Mhm.
The I'ma call you back was for nothing more than for me to finish experiencing that. I
That's
wanted
right.
to be
That's
present
right. That's right.
and all that. Girl, you look good. Like I just wanted to that's it. I wanted to do all of that. And so you're right. Like we I hear women that say, "I don't need that."
Oh, I need that.
I want it.
I absolutely need that.
It's
it's not needing that. I want that.
And
I
to be
want
completely
it.
honest with you, for me,
I
it
want that.
was you don't need a man. I heard that a lot. You don't need a man, you don't need
Wow.
a man. And I had that mentality of
Yeah.
I didn't need a man. And they weren't coming and beating down my door, so maybe I don't. So, but don't get me wrong, I wanted, I desired, but because
Yeah.
they weren't, I had that mindset. And then like where I am in this stage of my life now, I want to be the passenger. I want to be able to look out the window as he drives, right?
Yeah.
Because I've been in the driver's seat for so long. I
Right.
want to be able to be dainty and girl, you look good. Thank you, boy. You know,
Okay.
to just become that girl again, not necessarily
Yeah.
immature, but all of those things that makes you feel good. And it's to
Right.
come directly from the person that you're connected to romantically, which is why
Absolutely.
I believe to some degree a lot of people seek outward relationships because they're not getting it from the
They're
one
not
that's
getting it.
closest to them, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm ready to be a passenger. I want to sit on the passenger seat. I'm ready to be the helpmeet that the Bible talks about. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
ready for all of that. I'm ready to
So
be on.
Connie, elaborate a little bit on your definition of love. Like, what does love look like to you? So you had that perspective. What's your today perspective on it?
Today, it's me being the helpmeet, me letting a man play his position and me playing mine.
Absolutely.
And that's where I'm so secure and self-aware with who I am as a woman. No, I'm not picking up nothing heavy if you're around. Absolutely not. I'm not doing that. And men want to be needed. Even if I could pick up something heavy, but just the mere fact of, can you pick this up? Or, oh, this is heavy, and they're coming to your rescue, that feels very chivalry to me.
Right.
And that's so far removed in our generation. So love to me is, people say communication is the key. I adjust it to say effective communication is the key. Meaning, if you're speaking in Spanish and I'm speaking in Chinese and we're both saying hello, we're communicating, but we're not effectively communicating.
Oh,
so I
that's
think
good.
that's really, really paramount, and knowing who you are and being organic and authentic to yourself, not putting on air, because you can only play a role
For so long.
your representative for so long, because then your true self is going to come out. So I want, my definition now of love is to be me without putting on airs, to be me unapologetically and to love me for that. I'm a curvy girl, love my curves, perfect and imperfect. Love me for who I am and not just what I can do. Don't just love me or show that you love me when you're getting a meal. Love me regardless. Now, I was not a cook. Not that I can't cook. Once my children learned how to cook, because I was a single parent, I was like, you all can have it. But now my mindset is different because I want to do those things. I don't want to feel obligated to do those things. Where's my food? In the refrigerator, you can go get, I want to be able to have him sit down at a table and not necessarily, I'm going to say serve, but present him with his dinner. Because I cooked it with love. I want that. I love affection. I want to, be affectionated on a regular basis. So I want all of those things, and I desire those. And I don't think many women don't openly express what they really want. And so then they start settling. And that's not good either. So you gotta be true to yourself.
We are not settling
At
in
all.
2024. We are not settling. We're going to Kiki. We're gonna giggle. We're gonna go up octaves higher when you compliment us, but we are not settling. Okay, I have a question. I got a question for you guys. I loved what you said about like what you want, what love looks like to you, both of you guys. So this is a now this question.
Give it to us. Don't
I'm gonna give you the question. I'm gonna give you the question. But so the question is a simple question. Have you experienced the kind of love that you just described? And the reason I was hesitant because it's because if you're with somebody and he watched this podcast, and he gonna be watching because we're about to blow up. Like, everybody gonna be watching it. If you are with someone and your answer is no, you know that matters. That would matter to me. I will never forget this. I don't want to mention his name, but there was this guy that I was dating. I laughed out loud, but it really wasn't funny. I laughed because he didn't get it. And so we were laughing and talking. We have been dating for several months, like long enough. And so we were laughing and talking, and he he said, he asked me to describe, we were talking about like your person, your ideal person. Now we're dating.
Mm.
And so he was talking about his ideal person. And okay, listen to this. Listen to this. Listen to his description, and you're gonna see why I cracked up laughing. So he said, "My ideal person is about 5'9".
Mm.
Okay, dark skin.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
we talking to each other. He said she's 5'9", dark skin. He said she probably weighs about like 125, 30 pounds.
So he wasn't describing you
He
clearly.
was.
Once
And
he said the dark skin,
he was
wasn't
not describing
you.
me. You know what's so funny though? Is
Mm.
because he had gotten so lost in
Mm.
this description that
Mm.
he didn't even realize that
Wow.
he wasn't describing me. And I was it was eye-opening to me because it was just eye-opening. And so when he finished, and guys, this was like a list of 10 things, and not one of them was me.
Wow.
And
Mm.
so when he got, I was out at first I smirked, and then I was like, I wonder if he knows that ain't me. And I
Right.
saw him, like the look on his face, he was really into that person. And so when he snapped out of it, he looked over and I was like this. So I was like, oh, you need to go for her because she sounds like
She's the
she
one.
makes you
She's the
happy.
one for
Yeah,
you.
she sounds like she and so that I marked that moment though. I marked that moment because no matter what he said, his ideal person, even temperament, like he described temperament
Mm.
and my temperament, none of it. But I marked that moment because regardless to how much further we went down that road was
Mhm.
coming to a dead end.
And see,
Amen.
the thing about that is,
Girl,
so on in that vein, right?
in that
What's your
vein,
ideal
in that
woman?
vein.
In that vein, my question used to be, have you ever dated a plus size girl? Right. And that was the go-to because in my mind, at one point, if you're with me, and I'm just being 100% transparent right now, you're settling because the ideal woman is the brick house, right?
According to you.
According
That,
to
like,
you.
wow, that's
Right.
deep.
So when I used to ask that question, because now it does not matter, but when I was still coming into who or trying to find out who I was as a woman. So then what I learned is don't ask questions you really don't want to know the answer to.
Right.
Right? And so because you'll get those, yeah, no, not really. And I'm tall too, and I wear heels. So I know, and just on the side note, I attract all of the men that's like this.
But you know what?
But they have more confidence than the tall guys. And
They
so I'm
really
an equal
do.
opportunity person.
They
You
really
know, you
do.
treat me
They
good.
really do.
But in terms of what have I experienced that type of love based on your question? I have. I
Oh, that's
have.
excellent.
And it was it was so refreshing. It was
What,
so
what
refreshing
happened?
because
What happened?
that it didn't work out.
Yeah. What you do? What did you
What
do?
had happened was, right, we were, I'm a city girl and he was a Southern man. And
Oh.
he was used to a woman being in the house all the time. Now, not that I run the streets or anything like that, but it was
Mhm.
even to the extent of if I went to the grocery store, where are you? Like, I'm coming back. He would have everything would just become discombobulated. And it
But
was
you
so
just
much.
said you wanted that.
No, no, no. I don't want to be a goldfish. I don't want you to just sit me here and you look at me. No,
Got
we
it. Got it.
do
Got it.
things
Okay.
together.
Got it.
I'm okay with being that sometime, but in the event that I want to go out, which should be whenever I want to within reason, even if it's just to the grocery store, it should not have to be, it shouldn't be that way. And so it was more controlling in my mind. And I tried to adjust. We're going to call it adjust, but it was not enough. And so it was to the point, and he broke up with me. I was like, okay. It was all right. I don't ever want to be anywhere where I'm not wanted. But yeah, I did experience that, and it was absolutely
Oh.
amazing. Yeah, I'm okay
What
with it.
about you, Sandra? Have you experienced that type of?
But before I answer that question, let me just first of all say, honey, that beauty comes from the inside out.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter. What I've learned is it doesn't matter how beautiful a person is on the outside. If the inside is ugly, that's
Yep.
what distracts a man. That's what makes
Right.
them ugly. So everyone is beautiful from the inside out. So everyone to me is beautiful. But I'll say this. Yes, I have. But I was too immature
Mm,
to realize that I had found it and that I had it. I was not, if I could redo everything and have that love as new and fresh as it was from that beginning before something, went wrong, I
yeah.
would, and I was mature enough to know that that's what I was looking for. God had in
Wow.
front of me. I would do it differently.
Oh, that's a level, that's maturity.
Mhm.
That's maturity, wisdom. Okay.
Now, what
Okay.
about you, Allie?
I knew I knew that was coming. You know what? So I I think that okay, let me I have to say two things to that. Uh the way that I understand love now, which is to me the true definition.
Mhm.
It is so okay, the way that I understand love now, no.
Mm.
My previous definition of love,
Yeah,
yes. Like
that's
my first true love to this day is still my first true love.
wow.
And the still. And the reason I know that is because even though our past changed, like we went down different paths,
Mhm.
we really don't even have a friendship or relationship anymore.
Wow.
But listen to this is interesting to me. I still believe, I
Mm.
don't even know if it's true. I still believe that if I reached out to him today, that that familiarity, that friendship, that I still believe it's all there. So that's how I define that. Like now I don't know if that's a good thing, but I feel like we could pick up where we left off from years ago. And that's interesting to me because I can't think of one other person that I feel that way about.
Mhm.
Now, the way that I understand love now, which I think is the healthy definition,
Mhm.
I was trying not to do this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So, um, I base, and I really do base what love looks like on this definition. Okay. I'm gonna
That's
read it to you. It
what
says,
for you.
love is patient, love is kind, love is
Mhm.
not jealous, it's
Mm.
not proud, it's not rude, it does not demand its own way, it is not irritable, it keeps no record of being wrong,
Mm.
it never gives up on you, it's always hopeful, and it endures through every circumstance. So
Awesome.
that when I encounter or when I measure relationships, that's how I measure them. And I look for the foundation of those qualities in any man that I meet.
Yeah.
Like, is he rude right away? Like, is he, I just, where was I? I can't, this was recent.
Mm.
This is recent. Oh, this, like within the last month, I met this guy who swore he was interested in me. Swore he was interested in me. You and in one ear and out the other. You want to know why?
Why?
If I've known him for 2 months, not
Mhm.
one time has he said to me, "So how are you?"
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm like, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like,
Right.
zero energy, zero energy.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
to me, like that definition of love, I measure that against that. And it's not even just romantic love, even friendships. Like,
Yeah.
to me, I have some strong friendships. How do I know? Because when I measure them up against that definition,
Mhm.
they meet it. They fit.
Mhm.
They fit, you know. And so I have experienced it, but not according to the mature, delivered, free, healed definition.
Mhm.
But so it's like a yes and a no.
Yes.
It's like
Okay.
BC, yes. What's the other one? AD.
AD, yeah.
I was about to say AC. BC, yes. AD, no. And so, but do I look forward to it? Ooh. I am gonna act a fool when it happens. Y'all, I'm gonna be
I'm
so
gonna be the flower girl. I told you I'm gonna be the flower
I'm gonna
girl.
be so extra. I'm gonna be so extra because you know, our definitions, I believe it exists. I see it in some couples that I know. I see it manifested in some really strong couples, some couples that have shorter term relationships, and some couples that have longer term relationships. I see it, and it's so inspiring to me. I'm gonna take a quick pause. I encourage you. So this is the very first or second, depending on where the edit falls, episode of the Power of Love and Connection podcast. I am your host, Allison, and I have Connie and Sandra joining me tonight. Please subscribe. We are at YouTube at Power of Love and Connection. Also, you can subscribe through Apple Podcasts, search Power of Love and Connection podcast. Thank you. We are preparing to kind of wrap up
Yeah.
this session. This was excellent. This was excellent. I'm so excited about our conversations going forward and how they're going to evolve. You guys want to jump into one last dialogue or say anything before we hop off?
This has been really, really fun. I mean, it's like ripping the Band-Aid off because based on having these type of conversations and just jumping out and taking the leap of faith to even do this is been this is the second time you've done this to me in a matter of 2 weeks. So, and I'm grateful for, you know, how does the saying go? If you want to go far, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go together. And
Absolutely.
I think it's about the collaborations that makes it more, for many reasons, more attainable and sustainable. Because especially if you're working with like-minded people, and one of the the things that in terms of any relationship, that I always say, it has to be mutually beneficial. It just
Absolutely.
cannot be one-sided. It cannot be, I'm
Absolutely.
giving more than you, and if you're giving your best and I'm giving my best, we should both be able to add value to one another. So I'm excited for this and what's to come. And thank you.
What about you, Sandra?
I just want to close in saying that with all the descriptions that I feel or I think love is and what love is to me, there's also that connection that you may get with someone, maybe via a conversation. The things that the little things that they may do, and it may not be everything on the list that you have in your head that what love should be, but there's something there that you can work with. As long as that person is also willing to grow and change. You can't be stubborn and stuck in your ways. You have to be open to change. You have to listen. You have to develop understanding. You cannot be stuck in your comfort zone, because as we
Right.
get older, we can get stuck in the mud, and it's going to be that way. And as long as two people are willing to do that, and love is not perfect. That's something I've also found out. It's not perfect. There may be heated moments. And what usually gets me out of pocket for love, if I'm in love, or gets me, if I'm trying to say, let's have a conversation, and I say it calmly, and you wave me off, well, now I'm in a different realm, What do you mean? And then I start now speaking my truth in a way that I don't want to do it, to where it's coming out in a negative way, but I want to be heard. So we have to hear each other. We have to listen to each other. It's not always going to be calm, because that's impossible. We're humans. No one's going to be perfect. And it's okay to take a chance at love. I will never give up on love. I've been in abusive relationships, this relationship, I believe in love, and I believe in marriage. And
I believe in love. Yeah, I'm so
Mhm.
glad you said that. Love is beautiful, and I will go to the grave
Amen.
believing in it.
Amen.
Believing in it.
And I thank you
Believing in it.
for giving us that in our human personality.
Oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Lord.
Absolutely. Thank you both. We are gonna wrap up for tonight.
Thank
Once
you.
again, we encourage you guys to subscribe on our YouTube channel
Right.
at Power and Love, Power of Love and Connection.
That-
Also subscribe on Apple Podcasts. You can search Power of Love and Connection podcast. But we will be here every week, Tuesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern time. If you have relationship topics or topics that relate to love and connection, you can drop them in the comments or send a message to power of love and connection at gmail.com. And we look forward to hearing from you. This is just the beginning. And I'm so excited. So thank you all for watching. Have a great night. Bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.